Have you ever wondered how the food on your plate reflects centuries of cultural evolution? Every morsel we consume is a testament to the rich tapestry of history, a culinary journey that spans millennia. Let's embark on a gastronomic adventure tracing the roots of our modern-day food culture back to the cradle of ancient civilizations. Food culture is more than just about what we eat. It's a living, breathing entity that shapes societies, influencing our customs, traditions, and even our identities. It's a language that transcends borders, connecting us through shared experiences and common threads. Now picture this, the scorching deserts of ancient Egypt, where the Nile's fertile banks bore witness to one of the earliest food cultures. The Egyptians, master bakers and brewers, held bread and beer in high regard, serving them at every meal. They understood the art of fermentation, a process still employed in our kitchens today. Let's transport ourselves to the land of philosophers and warriors, ancient Greece. Here, the simplicity of their cuisine spoke volumes. Bread, olives, and wine formed the backbone of their diet. The symposia, their festive gatherings, revolved around communal dining, an ethos that echoes in our social gatherings today. A hop, skip, and a jump away, the mighty Romans were setting the stage for gastronomic extravagance. Their feasts were legendary, often lasting several hours. Bread and wine were staples, much like their Egyptian and Greek counterparts. But they also introduced the world to a myriad of flavors and dishes, many of which have stood the test of time. These ancient civilizations, with their unique culinary practices, set the table for the world's diverse food cultures. They taught us the importance of food beyond sustenance, to celebrate, to commune, to connect. They showed us how food could be an art form, a tool for diplomacy, and a symbol of status. The ancient civilizations set the foundation of our culinary practices, but the journey of food culture was just beginning. So let's continue to dig deeper, to savor the flavors of history, and to appreciate the culinary heritage we've inherited, because after all, we are what we eat. As societies evolved, so did their food culture. But what was on the menu during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance? In the Middle Ages, the food culture was surprisingly varied, but it depended heavily on one's social status. For the nobility, meals were grand affairs, laden with exotic spices like saffron and pepper, and meats such as venison and peacock. Their food was often served in ornate dishes, making dining a visual spectacle. On the other hand, the diet of the peasantry was humble, but not without its charms. They ate hearty, simple foods like brown bread, porridge, and seasonal fruits and vegetables. The scarcity of meat in their diet was compensated by dairy products and legumes, providing them with essential protein. Then came the Renaissance, a period of rebirth and discovery, and this was reflected in the culinary world too. The discovery of the New World brought a cornucopia of new ingredients to European tables. Tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and chilies, once unknown, became staples in the kitchen. The Renaissance also saw the evolution of cooking techniques. Cooks began to experiment and innovate, using these newfound ingredients in creative ways. They started to focus on enhancing the natural flavors of the food, rather than masking them with heavy spices, as was common during the Middle Ages. The banquets of the Renaissance were also grand affairs, but they boasted an element of sophistication. There was an emphasis on presentation and the artful arrangement of dishes. This period also saw the emergence of cookbooks, providing us with a glimpse into the culinary trends and practices of the time. In essence, the Middle Ages and the Renaissance were periods of significant change and growth in food culture. From the humble meals of the peasantry to the grand feasts of the nobility, from the heavy spicing of medieval times to the nuanced flavors of the Renaissance, these eras significantly influenced the way we cook and eat today. The Middle Ages and Renaissance saw a dramatic shift in food culture, laying the groundwork for the modern culinary world. The Age of Exploration and colonial times were periods of great discovery, but how did they impact our food culture? Let's start with the spice trade. It was a game changer in the culinary world. Imagine a time when pepper was worth its weight in gold, and cinnamon was a well-guarded secret of the East. Spices were coveted not only for their ability to improve the flavor of food, but also for their medicinal properties. They became a symbol of wealth and power, sparking explorations and igniting wars. The spice trade routes connected the East to the West, bringing together diverse cultures and cuisines. Next, let's talk about the introduction of new foods from the Americas. The age of exploration was a time of great discovery, and among the most significant were the newfound foods. Can you picture Italian cuisine without tomatoes? Or Irish cuisine without potatoes? Hardly. Yet these staples came from the Americas. Corn, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters by Native Americans, also made their way around the globe. These foods not only changed the way people ate, but also transformed economies and societies. Lastly, we can't forget the influence of colonialism on global food culture. While colonialism had many negative impacts, it also resulted in the blending of food cultures. Indian curries were introduced to Britain, African ingredients influenced South American cuisine, and Dutch-Indonesian Rijsttafel was born. This fusion of flavors and ingredients created new culinary traditions and recipes, shaping our global food culture. These periods of exploration and colonization were fraught with conflict and exploitation, but they also led to an exchange of ideas, tastes, and culinary practices. They brought the world closer together through food, leading to the rich, diverse culinary landscape we enjoy today. These periods of exploration and colonization melded food cultures together, creating a culinary mosaic that continues to evolve. The Industrial Revolution changed the world, but how did it change what we eat? Let's take a bite out of this tasty topic. As the wheels of industry began to turn in the late 18th century, the food landscape underwent a seismic shift. Where once food production was largely a home-based or localized affair, the Industrial Revolution brought about the mechanization of agriculture. This led to increased food production on a scale we had never seen before. The invention of canning and refrigeration technologies during this period revolutionized food preservation. These advancements meant food could be stored for longer periods and transported over great distances, breaking down geographical barriers and leading to the globalization of food. As we transition into the 20th century, we see the rise of the fast food industry. This phenomenon was born out of the need for quick, convenient meals to match the pace of the modern working life. The hamburger, pizza, and fried chicken became staples of this new food culture. Fast food chains spread across the globe, bringing with them their signature dishes. A Big Mac in Paris tastes just like one in New York, providing a sense of familiarity in an ever-changing world. Alongside this, the 20th century also saw the rise of global cuisine. As our world became more interconnected, so did our plates. Sushi from Japan, tacos from Mexico, pasta from Italy. These dishes and more began to appear on dining tables worldwide. The explosion of culinary television and the internet in the late 20th and early 21st centuries further expanded our food horizons. Recipes from every corner of the globe became accessible at the click of a button, and the world became our kitchen. The Industrial Revolution and modern times have made food more accessible, varied, and convenient than ever before. So the next time you tuck into your favorite meal, take a moment to appreciate the centuries of innovation that have gone into every bite. As we continue to explore the history of food culture, let's see what the future has in store. Stay tuned. We've journeyed through the past, but what does the future hold for our food culture? As we cast our eyes forward, we find ourselves on the brink of a new era, where advancements in technology and changes in our environment are set to radically transform what we eat and how we eat it. Imagine a world where meat is grown in labs, not on farms. We're not talking about artificial synthetic meats here. This is real bona fide animal tissue, produced without the need for traditional livestock farming. Lab-grown meat is a potential game-changer, promising a more sustainable and ethical way of producing meat. But it's not just about beef, chicken, or pork. Even seafood could be produced this way, paving the path for a future where overfishing is a thing of the past. But what about protein sources beyond meat? Here's where things get interesting. There's a growing interest in insects as a sustainable source of protein. Yes, you heard that right, insects. They're nutrient-rich, easy to farm, and have a much smaller environmental footprint than traditional livestock. So, don't be surprised if you find yourself munching on cricket flour cookies or mealworm burgers in the not-so-distant future. Of course, we can't talk about the future of food without addressing the elephant in the room: climate change. Rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and extreme weather events are all impacting our ability to grow food. As a result, we're likely to see a shift towards more resilient crops and farming practices that can withstand these changes. The foods we eat and how they're produced may need to adapt to this new reality. But amidst all these changes, one thing remains constant: our love for food and the role it plays in our cultures. Food is more than just fuel for our bodies. It's a way of connecting with others, of expressing our identities, and of experiencing the world. As we look to the future, one thing is certain: food will continue to shape and be shaped by our ever-evolving culture.